वज़ीर-ए-आज़म मोहम्मद शहबाज शरीफ भी तकरीब में शिरकत के लिए मौजूद हैं। आपको बहर रास्त लिए चलते हैं।
We have with us Mr. Hamid Mir, one of the most celebrated and one of the most senior journalists in Pakistan. He has championed the cause of free media for decades and paid a heavy price for it. He still carries a bullet in his body. He is chairperson of Pakistan Journalist Safety Coalition, which is host of this event. I will request Mr. Hamid Mir for his address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mian Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, distinguished ambassadors of Denmark, Norway, and France, representatives of the international media support, international delegates from Asia and Europe, and representatives of Pakistani media, civil society, and fellow journalists, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. On behalf of the Pakistan Journalist Safety Coalition as its third chairperson, and on behalf of Freedom Network, the co-organizers of the conference, I welcome you all to the conference, 10 years of United Nations Plan of Action in Asia, Islamabad Safety Forum. We have gathered here today to reflect on the deeply influential impact of the seminal UN Plan of Action on Safety of Journalists and Issues of Impunity, 10 years after it was launched in 2012 to help reduce violence against journalists and punish their attackers. And I remember that this effort was started when the elder brother of our Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, he was also Prime Minister, and we met him, and that's how we started this effort. The plan of action has helped many countries in many ways. Some of these ways will be discussed in the afternoon sessions, focusing on Asian countries. The morning sessions will focus on Pakistan, and this will include key findings from a report investigating the impact of the UN Plan of Action on Pakistan. The results from the report show both achievements and shortcomings. So it is a mixed bag for Pakistan. However, Pakistan has come some way since the UN Plan of Action. For example, Pakistan is the only country in Asia where the parliament has worked with the media and civil society to legislate on safety of journalists. Additionally, Pakistan has demonstrated that broad-based alliances are possible for key causes and that they can deliver results. The Pakistan Journalist Safety Coalition operates both at the federal and provincial levels to advocate for safety of journalists. It includes media associations, political parties, parliamentarians, national human rights commissions, digital and human rights groups, medical support groups, union of journalists, and press clubs. Working together, these stakeholders have ensured that the cause of safety of journalists has become a national cause in Pakistan that is linked to larger values of freedom of expression, human rights, and democracy. Their success has meant that Pakistani society now sees attacks against journalists and intimidation of media as an attack on democracy itself. In this way, the struggle of journalists is nurturing democracy in Pakistan, and this is not a small achievement. With these pluses, there are some minuses. There have also been a major reduction in the levels of murders of journalists in Pakistan since the UN Plan of Action galvanized Pakistani journalists and civil society to unite against the attacks. But murders still happen. Sometimes Pakistani journalists are not safe even outside Pakistan, like Arshad Sharif. The murders of only 2 journalists out of 53 journalists killed in Pakistan in the last 10 years have been convicted. And Pakistan must improve its capture and conviction of attackers of journalists. All the journalists killed in the line of duty, including Arshad Sharif, must get justice. And we are thankful to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif that he wrote a letter to the Chief Justice of Pakistan for making a commission to investigate the assassination of Arshad Sharif. And last year, when Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was in opposition, and our colleagues Asad Tur and Absar Alam were attacked in Islamabad, so he not only visited them, but also raised voice against violence against journalists. Now he is the Prime Minister, and we hope that he will try his level best to find out the culprits who attacked Asad Tur and Absar Alam. The Pakistan Journalist Safety Coalition thinks the following steps can dramatically help reduce impunity of crimes against journalists in Pakistan, so that Pakistan not only has the world's best laws on safety of journalists, but also the safest journalists in the world. The federal and Sindh laws on safety of journalists were unanimously passed by National Assembly and Sindh Assembly last year. The federal and Sindh governments must immediately notify the safety commissions under these laws so that they can be operationalized and journalists start benefiting from them. Laws were passed, but we are still waiting for the implementation. The Safety Commission must be provided funds, offices, staff, and technical resources to do their jobs. The journalists of Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Punjab also deserve special laws for their safety like their counterparts in federal and Sindh jurisdictions. The ruling and opposition parties must show unanimous support to pass similar laws in these 3 provinces immediately. The Safety Coalition is already advocating with these provincial assemblies to fast-track this process. The draconian Section 6 from the Federal Journalist Safety Law, which acts as a pre-qualifier for journalists before benefiting from the law, must be immediately removed. This Section 6 was included in the Journalist Safety Bill without our consent. I still remember that when we agreed on a final draft of the Journalist Safety Bill, I showed that draft to late I.E. Rahman Saab, who was the president of the Safety Commission, and this organization, which is the organizer of this seminar. And Mr. I.E. Rahman Saab was very happy, and he said that it's a miracle it is passed in Pakistan. And Section 6 was not part of that original bill. We agreed on the bill in the Human Rights Committee of the National Assembly. All of us were present. It was presided by Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. He was in the opposition at that time. After that meeting, Section 6, which is a censorship clause, was mysteriously included in that bill. So we demand to remove that censorship clause in the Journalist Safety Bill. There is already support from both government and opposition parties for its removal, and this should happen quickly. Combating cybercrime is essential to safe internet, but this must not be an excuse to hound media practitioners. As repeatedly stated by the Honorable Islamabad High Court, journalists must be taken out of the purview of any restriction on online expression through laws such as PICA or other regulations. The federal and provincial government must announce support for an end to restrictions, attacks, and intimidation of women journalists, both offline and online, because without women's safety able to practice journalism, Pakistan cannot have public interest journalism. And I must mention the name of Asma Shirazi Sahiba, Nigat Dad Sahiba, and some other female journalists who are present here. And they are living example of courage and bravery, because they faced online harassment very bravely, and we must salute their bravery. The National Commission on Human Rights, the National Commission on Status of Women, the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, and the Pakistan Journalist Safety Coalition should form an alliance for this purpose. Ahead of general elections next year, all political parties registered with the Election Commission of Pakistan must include a separate section in their manifesto guaranteeing safety of journalists, freedom of expression, and right to information. We believe these widely supported steps can dramatically put Pakistan in the top ranks of the safest countries to practice journalism. In the end, I would like to thank my colleagues at the Pakistan Journalist Safety Coalition, especially Iqbal Khattak Saab and Adnan Rahmat Saab, for facilitating this conference, UNESCO, the Pakistan Federal Union of Journalists, and the International Media Support, Reporters Without Borders, for supporting cause of India freedom and safety of journalists throughout these years. And we are all grateful to the Prime Minister, Mia Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif Saab, and his Information Minister, Saiba, who is not here due to a death in her family, for their gracious time and support for the journalists for Pakistan. Once again, thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Hamid Mir Saab. International Media Support is an international civil society organization that has played a very important role in putting UN plan into action. Mr. Lars Besley is the regional director of IMS. I'll request him to share his experiences with us.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Mr. Prime Minister, the ambassadors of Denmark, Norway, and France, distinguished guests from a lot of countries in Asia, a very warm welcome. And to the host of Pakistan, thank you so much for having us today. It is indeed such a privilege to be here on this occasion. And we are gathered, as Hamid Mir said, to celebrate key achievements that Pakistan has made in good use of the UN Plan of Action on the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity. But we are also here to spotlight this very serious matter, namely the crimes against journalists and thereby also crimes for a free and independent media. In the last 10 years, 604 journalists have been killed globally due to their work. Several more killings have perished because motives were unconfirmed. But the fact is that the majority of these journalists were not killed in crossfire, but rather died as targets for their reporting. And most of these crimes goes unpunished. There is a lack of effective mechanism that can deal with this problem comprehensively, deal with attacks of killings of journalists. And this has led to a growing culture of impunity in a lot of countries globally. The plan of action was set up in response to this trend now 10 years ago. It has shown to be a very critical instrument to sum up global consensus around the issue of not keeping journalists safe, but also as a useful set of guidelines for who should do what to make this happen. It was launched in 2012 and is now 10 years old. And it's a good time with this 10 years anniversary to reflect on how influential it has been and how has it guided us and relevant stakeholders in taking the